So if you've been on YouTube or just any social media the last few days, you'll probably undoubtedly have seen something about the Amazing Digital Circus, because I know I have. Like, this just kind of popped up out of nowhere, and it just became, like, very, very popular. So I decided, why not give it a try? You know, everybody's talking about it, and it was really interesting, actually. I actually had such a good time watching it. It is made by Glitch, the same people who make Murder Drones, which is something that I've been actually wanting to watch for a while. I haven't yet watched it, but I plan to in the future. But we'll leave that for another day. Today, we're here to talk about the Amazing Digital Circus. And wow, I totally get the hype. It's very, very interesting. So to kind of give some pretext going into this, when I saw this, I was really reminded of that indie horror stuff that really attracts kids. For example, Five Nights at Freddy's, Undertale, Poppy Playtime, Pibby is another one. All that stuff that is like super kind of creepy, but is like also kind of kiddie, like something that's like, you know, a corruption of like a kid thing, like how Five Nights at Freddy's corrupts animatronics. Pibby has like the glitched out baby characters, you know, all that kind of stuff, right? It kind of has that same vibe. Typically, I'm not super interested in that kind of stuff. I thought Pibby was kind of interesting, but Five Nights at Freddy's, whatever, I'm kind of indifferent toward that stuff. But the Amazing Digital Circus, at least for me, is different in that regard. It is absolutely just overflowing with creativity. The character designs are definitely like the one thing that like really made this super interesting, and the way they're handled in the animation is just fascinating. Like one of the main characters, the guy with like eyeballs in his teeth, I find it so funny how when he talks, he's probably the most interesting character to watch on screen outside of the main character, because his animations follow logic, but at the same time they also don't. Like, the way he talks, it's his mouth moving. Like, it syncs up with the words that he's saying, and his eyeballs are, like, looking around as if, like, what a human would look like. But they're in different positions. But at the same time, there's a bunch of, like, cartoony antics going on with his animation. And it's just super fascinating to watch because it just works for him, even though it's such an odd character design, right? It's so weird. And same with the main character as well, Pomni. I love what they do with her eyes. The eyes are just super fascinating. They, like, play lots of little different tricks with the eyes. And it's such an awesome character design. I find it very funny how clowns and like circus aesthetic has kind of become more popular, because back in 2016, that was like the scary thing, right? It was all about the killer clowns and everybody was like scared of clowns, evil clowns. Now it's just like the silly, funny, dare I say some people even go as far as to simp for clowns. Regardless, these character designs are just super fascinating, and watching them in animation is so fun. I love the little rabbit guy too, who's just like constantly mischievous, doesn't really seem to care about what's going on. All he cares about is like making mischief happen and watching other people like deal with said mischief, and that's it. He's just there to have a good time and doesn't really have any moral backbone like at all. And he's actually probably my favorite character just because he's just so funny and mischievous and silly. But outside of just the character designs, which are already really good, the animation is just like super smooth. And weirdly enough, I got super nostalgic watching this because it feels like you're watching like a weird old PS2 cutscene or something, like an obscure PS2 game cutscene that for some reason just like has weird and wacky characters. Or like, I'm in my early 20s, so if you were a kid around my age, you would you know, put discs in your PC to like play certain games of like IPs and whatnot, and they'd always have like really weird and wacky characters. This has the exact same vibe, because it technically is like a video game, right? It's a virtual world. It really just feels like you're watching a video game cutscene while you're watching this, and like it just goes on. Like most video game cutscenes, you know, averages around like a minute, let's say. I don't even know. They can be long, they can be short, but this one is just like a 25-minute long video game cutscene, and I'm all for it. It's like it combines that feeling of a video game cutscene with like an actual show, and I really appreciate this being like a web show as well, because a lot of shows like you'd watch on like Disney or whatever, they have to follow like, I guess, set rules, whereas this doesn't feel like it has set rules or set comedy. Like for example, some of the jokes, like one of them is like where the main character Pommy opens a door and it's just a face like just comes out and goes ah, like that's funny to people on the internet, but like that would never be a thing on like Disney. You'd never see like a face flying towards you in like watching like a Disney show or something, right? That's just not a thing that would happen. I would describe it as more internet humor than it is like what writers would actually want to write. I don't know. I love it though. I think it's really cool. I feel like this being a web show, they don't really have any restrictions. They can just let the creativity flow completely. And the fact this is a video game world, like you just have like the freedom to literally do anything that you want. And that there's like a weird corruption underneath. Like the main guy in charge of the game definitely knows a lot more than he's letting on. There's like corruption that happens to other characters, and that corruption can spread, and it gets all glitchy. Kind of reminds me of like the Pibby thing again, where like characters become all glitchy and weird. And I always like that stuff, right? I know like the glitchy characters and whatnot is kind of like becoming more of an overplayed trope, but like I honestly think it's kind of cool. I really love like the glitch kind of aesthetic. Like, you saw it in like Wreck-It Ralph was like a good example. You were talking about like mainstream stuff. You saw it with like Vanellope and King Candy, but here is a lot more prominent and they play around with it a lot more. One of my favorite parts was when the doll girl, sorry I don't remember all their names, I literally just watched it, but when the doll girl, she's like glitching out, her eyes turn into Pong. Like, it's so funny. Like, it's just like, yeah, the writers are just sitting there, or the animators are sitting there like, yeah, what if we just made her eyes Pong just for no reason? Just because we can. And I just love stuff like that. There are also just some really, really funny gags, like when the rabbit's like, ladies first. Oh, wait, why would I say that? And just shoves one of his friends over. Or when the bubble is interrupting like the main teeth guy and it keeps interrupting him, then he just pops it. Like, dude, the comedic timing on that was so funny. It actually made me laugh out loud. And like typically when I watch shows and whatnot nowadays, I don't really laugh out loud. You know, you do that little exhale through your nose, you know what I'm talking about? But this one actually made me laugh out loud. Like when he just popped the bubble, it was like perfect comedic timing, and I loved it. It was so funny because it was also unexpected, right? It was just, I don't know. I find that to be like unexpected, but also completely expected at the same time. Like perfect comedic timing. I don't know. I really loved that gag. That was the thing that made me laugh the most. And I also loved the idea of like the exit door being like an endless path that you're going through, trying to escape the digital circus here. It kind of reminded me of the Backrooms, like when I'm just thinking about like other indie horror stuff, or it's like kind of like that horror stuff that really appeals to kids. The Backrooms, you know, the Backrooms is like one of those big things. And when Pommy was like running through all the rooms, all the exit doors to try and get to the exit, I think she finds what I can only assume to be her room, like her old computer before she put on the VR headset. I'm not entirely sure if that's what it is. But yeah, when she was running through that, I was just kind of reminded of the Backrooms as well. So it's like they're taking inspiration from like other things that they see, having their own version of the idea of like the Pibby and Backrooms kind of stuff. At least that's just what I'm randomly comparing it to. Just other things that I've noticed in the like the indie horror kind of stuff. And it's just so fun to see like all these ideas and creativity combined in this one 25-minute long pilot. And I know I already talked about the animation, but I really do appreciate how it's like different for every single character. Every character is just smooth as heck, and they all move logically, but also in a cartoony way. Like, I have nothing but massive praise to give the animators of this short here. It's very fascinating, and I can only guess that this series is just going to continue to grow, right? It's already reached 13 million views at the time of I'm recording this video. In their Murder Drones pilot that came out last year, like over a year ago, potentially, I'm not sure when, it only has 24 million views. So 9 million more views and it will already catch up to their Murder Drones pilot. So this is definitely going to be like their next hit show. And I'm all for it. The people behind this, like, they're extremely talented. And I can't wait to see more of what they produce because this is just absolutely fascinating. And it really does feel like a breath of fresh air for animation in general, or I guess specifically like online animation. You know, that's still being, I guess you could say, pioneered. Maybe not so much pioneered, but you know, it's evolving, I guess you could say is the better word. And seeing stuff like the Amazing Digital Circus, stuff like Hell of a Boss and whatnot, like the creators behind those shows are like really, really pushing for a scene in online animation. And I love it. I absolutely just love what I'm seeing here. And I can't recommend it enough. You know, I can't recommend it enough. I definitely think you should go give the Amazing Digital Circus a try. Go watch it. I can guarantee you're probably going to like it. Or at least you're going to like some parts of it. So yeah, let me know what you thought about the pilot. I had a good time watching it. I thought it was really, really fun. And I can't wait to see more from Glitch and the Amazing Digital Circus. But that'll be it for me. Thank you all so very much for watching, everybody. I'll catch you all later. Have yourselves a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.